I would give myself, look, I hate to do it, but I will do it. I would give myself an A+. Is that enough? Can I go higher than that?
All right, guys, I'm sorry. Please chill out. You've been asking for my frog deck. All of those comments you can see totally legit, and they weren't just, generated off the first website I could find. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Ristic Games. It's your boy Jordan, and today we're gonna run through my frog deck, my frog tribal deck. And I'm going to come right off the bat before you jump in the comments. It's not a strong deck. It's very weak. It is. It's not good. I haven't won. I've won one game with it actually, and now that I've won a game with it, now I feel like I can put it out into the world and say, all right, it's not totally trash. The reason that I wanted to share this and actually make this video is because it's more about actually building a deck and the fear around trying to build your own deck as opposed to just going on Moxfield or MTG Goldfish or one of the many websites that have submitted deck lists, and just grabbing one off there as opposed to building one yourself. It's something that I felt, and this was my first attempt at building a deck, and I think it definitely shows. But now, since this deck, I've gone on to build other decks because I realized, oh, it's not actually that tricky. And so I kind of wanted to, share it with people. Maybe someone will watch this and say, wow, that deck's trash. Maybe I can build my own trash deck. And the world will be a better place for it. So, what do we say? Cheers. Let's hop it. Oh, frog. That wasn't planned. Sexy Frog Killers from Space by ignore the name. It is what it is. So, like I said, this was my first attempt at building a deck. Usually what I would have done is gone to one of these sites, Moxfield, MTG Goldfish, one of these sites, and just found a deck that matched what I was trying to do, whether it was building a Yuriko deck, like a budget Yuriko deck, or the Krenko deck, or the Gates deck that I've done a video on previously, link in the description or in the playlist, I don't know. And I wanted to, when Bloomburrow came out and I saw that there were so many frog cards, I really wanted to make a frog tribal deck, and everywhere I looked, nowhere had the vision that I had in my mind of what this deck would look like and what it would achieve and how it would play out. Nowhere I could find was this frog deck. There was, Tatsunori Toad Rider commander decks that were mainly just ninja cards with a couple of frogs, and I wanted every frog. I didn't want anything in the deck that wasn't frog. It was a frog deck. And I understand that that's not conducive to building a good deck, and that's probably why it doesn't exist, but now it does. Anyway, so that led me to building my own deck. And this is it. So our commander is Clement the worrywort. There is actually two commanders in this. I wanted this to be similar to that of a precon. That, there's always an alternate commander included in the precons. So this is the face card, the box topper of the deck, but there is also Grolnok the Omnivore also in there. Lots of people will say he's a much better commander than Clement. However, Clement gives me the bounce ability, and the idea for the deck is frog bounce, and he gives all of your cards the ability to bounce back to your hand, as well as very good ramp with his ability to also just give every frog or every creature you control, or frogs you control, have the ability to tap for mana. Now, in terms of the creatures in the deck, like I say, they're all frogs. A lot of them are from Bloomburrow, so that means a lot of them are really cheap. 35 cents. All of these cards, really cheap. The deck itself is moderately cheap. There are a couple of cards in here that do push up the price tag, but they also aren't vital to the deck succeeding. And the only reason that they're in the deck is because I managed to pull them from packs. And so I thought, why not? You know? If I pulled no, I wouldn't put a Mana Crypt in there anymore, but if I had, in the past pulled a Mana Crypt, then I would have put a Mana Crypt in here, but you don't need to have the expensive cards in here. So anyway, the idea of the deck, like I say, it's getting these frogs out into the field, having their ETB effects go off, balancing them, getting them back in, and having them trigger again and again and again and again. In the ideal scenario, you can get quite long loops of triggers if you've got sort of the right setup of cards. The stars of the deck, there is a couple. Lily Splash Mentor, one of my favorite cards to get out there. He has an ability that exiles a target creature and then brings it back into the field. Now, if you have, for example, a Sun Shower Druid on the field, you would play the Sun Shower Druid, he triggers his ability, you put a +1/+1 counter onto whatever card you've decided you want to start stacking counters on, activate Lily Splash Mentor, Sun Shower Druid exiles, comes back in, triggers the +1/+1 again, and because Lily Splash Mentor doesn't tap, you can just do it again and again and again and again. Now then, if you combo that with another card, say 3/3 Scribe, whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield without dying, like exiling, then you put another +1/+1. So then you start stacking on top of that. You have a Valley Might Caller, another one of my favorite cards. Whenever another frog enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So in this instance, if we have Lily Splash Mentor, 3/3 Scribe, Sun Shower Druid, and Valley Might Caller, 4 cards, I know I didn't say the deck was perfect, or we know we have Lily Splash, Valley Might Caller, and 3/3 Scribe. We play Sun Shower Druid, we get Valley Might Caller's ETB, or trigger, he gets +1/+1. Sun Shower Druid also gives him +1/+1. We activate Lily Splash Mentor, Sun Shower Druid leaves, 3/3 Scribe gives Valley Might Caller another +1/+1. Sun Shower Druid comes back in, gives another +1/+1 to Valley Might Caller, and then enters again, activating Valley Might Caller's trigger again. So 5 triggers of a +1/+1 just off of the one creature. And that's the whole idea of the deck, is that these go and go and go and go and go. One of the things you can try to do, get 20-toed Toad, get 20 +1/+1 counters on there, win the game. Like I just said, it's 5 triggers of the +1/+1. Like, you can get these stacking incredibly quickly. There's other cards that you can kind of play this with, of getting card draw, and like Pond Prophet, Bellowing Crier. Clifftop Lookout's really good in terms of getting ramp or extra land onto the field with his effect. If you bounce him in and out, you're able to get 2, 3, 4 land drops in a single turn. Like I said before, like the 3/3 Scribe has the kind of interaction of giving +1/+1. The Dowerport Mage is another interaction that you can kind of have, where you have Dowerport Mage on the field with the Lily Splash Mentor, and you have Pond Prophet. Pond Prophet enters, you draw a card, you activate Lily Splash Mentor, bounce the Pond Prophet, Dowerport Mage triggers the Pond Prophet, leaving, you draw another card, Pond Prophet comes back in, you draw another card. There's 3 draws just off the rip. You see where I'm going. All the meanwhile, if you have Clement the worrywort out, when you're playing these cards and triggering the abilities, Clement's ability is sort of ever present as well, where if you have another frog that is lesser cost than the frog that you're playing, for example, you have a Sun Shower Druid, then you play upon profit, Clement triggers, bounce Sun Shower Druid back to my hand, play it again for another 1 mana. Where you're just getting that constant recursion and constant bounce going and getting those ETBs to land. Moving down to, your sorceries and things, it's typical blue-green. We've got ramp, we've got ways to exile, splash portal, exiles and brings it back. Because all of our decks are frogs, when you do it as well, you draw a card. I've got the 2 seasons in here, Season of Gathering specifically. These don't need to be in here. I bought a lot of Bloomburrow packs and I ended up with them, so they're in here. That's the reason that they're here. I do quite like the Season of Gathering. Using I use the +1/+1 twice, and then the draw cards equal to the greatest power. So, like I said before, you have Valley Lightcaller. If you do that loop 1 time and you've got 6 +1/+1 counters on him, all of a sudden you play Season of Gathering, get another 2 +1/+1, so now his power's 9 and you're drawing 9 cards. Pretty good, yeah. Otherwise, nothing too crazy in here. Holy time jump, Batman. Apparently the audio on the second half of the video just decided to stop working. So here we are the following day, trying to fix that up. So we got up to the instance. So in terms of our instance, this kind of leads us to the other goal of the frog deck. It's not just enough that my deck is frogs, everyone else's deck needs to be frogs too. So we've got things like Turned Frog, we've got things like Urbanize, we've got things like Polymorphous Jest, we've got things like Rapid Hybridization, we've got things like Snake Form that all work to shut down your opponent's board, turn them into weak little frogs. The other part of the instance, obviously we've got our counter spells, and then we have Ramp, and then we have things like Blur, Displace, Unsummon, Run Away Together, all of these things that are also facilitating the bouncing and re-entering of our frogs. Artifacts, nothing crazy here. The only thing that's in here that you may not need is the Conduit of Worlds. The only reason that this is in the deck is because one of my friends plays a mill deck, and I need to be able to have access to lands that get milled into the graveyard. Herald's Horn, Patchwork Banner, these are just standard tribal artifacts. Enchantments, again we have like Amphibian Downpour, Frogify, Imprisoned in the Moon, things that are just shutting down the opponent's board. Innkeeper's Talent is one of those cards that are on the higher end of the cost. Again, I got it from a pack. It's not vital to the deck working. It just helps to make the frogs bigger and pack more of a punch. In terms of lands, there's nothing too crazy in here. 3 Tree City, another one of those cards that I pulled from a pack that if you don't have, isn't going to make or break the deck. It does obviously work really well in a tribal deck setting. So if you have it, use it. Yeah, so that's the main idea of the deck. It's meant to be a cheaper deck. Going through TCG Player, $129.26. Like I say, if you take out that 3 Tree City and the Innkeeper's Talent, the Conduit of Worlds even, then the price just drops and drops and drops. So yeah, I mean that's the frog deck. Hopefully it's, if you see it, maybe you want to try it. It is a lot of fun. I've tried to reiterate, it's not a powerful deck. It can definitely hold its own against like precons and lower tier decks, but as soon as you start, getting into any kind of, anyone that's put any thought into their deck, probably going to do a little bit better. But yeah, so I mean, the last thing that I wanted to touch on was the actual building of the deck. Like I said at the start of the video, I used to, I'm not be too worried, but like kind of be scared that I didn't have the knowledge of these random, every single card in Magic, and I wouldn't be able to put a deck together because there's going to be some card that was released in Innistrad Remastered that I don't know about that's going to be, it needs to go in this deck, and because it's not in there, it's going to be worse for it. And that's just not really the case. When I decided to put this deck together, like I said, after looking through Moxfield and Goldfish and all of these sites, trying to find a tribal deck that fit the vision, what I ended up doing was just going to Scryfall, and I typed in Art Frog, and I just grabbed every card that had a frog on it, and I think I started the deck off at 150 cards, and I slowly went through and cut out more and more and more, and then all of a sudden I had a deck. It started off as a black, green, and blue with the commander was Glarb, Calamity's Augur, and then I'd play some more. I'd run it through the playtester. I'd discover that there wasn't actually really much that black was doing in the deck, and that Clement was actually much better suited for what I was thinking the deck would do. And then like I say, since then the worry of not being able to build a strong or competitive deck's kind of gone. It's kind of alleviated that fear of other people sort of knowing better, so I should just follow what they are doing. And now I've got many decks, and I'll show more of them in the future, hopefully. And hopefully someone sees this and says, oh yeah, that's pretty bad. I'm sure I could do better than that, and you probably can. But yeah, thanks for checking this out. If you liked it, subscribe. Maybe check out my Magic Arena content. Check out the video I uploaded just the other day of going through the custom Magic subreddit, and have a good day.